Hello, Leo, radiant child of the sun. Welcome back to Eternal Mindfulness, your sacred space for deep soul readings, cosmic alignment, and divine messages that were always meant to find you. Let me ask you something real. What if today isn't just another day? What if something unseen is already shifting in your favor, not in the world outside, but within you? Because here's the truth. When God begins to move, no force on earth can stop what's already been written in the stars. And today, I believe with every fiber of my being, something holy is unfolding for you. You didn't just find this reading. You were led here. Maybe it's the tug you felt in your chest. Maybe it's the number you keep seeing on clocks, receipts, or license plates. Or maybe it's just that quiet voice in your soul whispering, "This is for you." We are now in a powerful astrological window, one that calls you back to your center. The stars are shifting slowly, but with precision. This isn't a time to rush or force outcomes. This is a time to root down, ground yourself, and reconnect to your inner fire. You don't need to roar to be powerful. You just need to remember who you are. So, before we dive into the tarot messages and energetic downloads waiting for you today, I want to invite you to take an intentional step with me. Drop an angel number in the comments, any number that's been showing up around you. Or simply write, "My Leo heart is open." This isn't just for engagement, this is your way of declaring to the universe, "I'm ready. I'm listening. I am in alignment with what's next." Let me also take a moment to say, thank you. From the bottom of my heart. Your likes, your comments, your subscriptions, they don't just support this channel. They expand the light of this entire community. You help bring these sacred, life-changing messages into the lives of those who truly need them. And Leo, I'm telling you, you'll want to stay with me until the very end of this video, because what the universe is revealing right now, it's nothing short of extraordinary. So take a deep breath. Let your heart open. And let's step into this miracle, together. Sometimes, the most powerful signals come not through noise, but through stillness. In moments when life feels quiet, almost too quiet, it can be tempting to question whether progress is happening at all. But if you pay attention, really pay attention, you'll notice that this stillness is not emptiness. It's alignment. And right now, the universe is aligning something profound beneath the surface of your everyday life. Astrologically, the energies circling Leo at this time are not rushing or chaotic. Instead, they're forming a supportive web of quiet encouragement, asking you to return to your center, your essence. The planetary alignments are encouraging a re-anchoring, a coming home to yourself. This isn't a time to chase the future, it's a time to become so rooted in who you are that the future naturally unfolds from your clarity. The Emperor appears now as a sacred archetype of grounded leadership and inner order. He is not a figure of force, but of structure. He reminds you that power doesn't come from how fast you move, but how consciously you choose. His presence in this reading is an invitation to pause, not to stop, but to recalibrate. To create a foundation that is not just strong, but purposeful. Imagine your life as a garden. Without intentional pruning, things grow wild. Without clear pathways, the beauty becomes hidden under overgrowth. The Emperor asks, what needs trimming? What needs rebuilding? Where can you apply focus, not pressure, to shape your days with love and integrity? Establishing morning rituals, setting 3 small daily priorities, or simply cleaning your living space might sound too ordinary, but these acts become sacred when done with full awareness. They quiet the mental clutter and allow you to hear the softer whispers of intuition. A clear space outside often reflects a clearer space within. This process of returning to the core isn't about perfection, it's about presence. It's about remembering what truly matters to you when all distractions fade away. In many wisdom traditions, this is known as the path back to one's true nature, not adding more, but peeling away what no longer belongs. And that's the energy moving around you now, a quiet but unmistakable call to simplify, to clarify, to embody your own natural rhythm without comparison or urgency. You don't need to prove anything to anyone, not even yourself. Just bring your awareness to this moment, to what it needs, and let that be enough. What looks like a pause is actually a preparation. What feels like stillness may be the breath right before the leap. The universe is not ignoring you, it's making space. You are not being delayed, you are being aligned. This isn't stagnation, Leo. This is grace. You may have noticed that when you stop overextending yourself to chase meaning, life becomes more meaningful. When you stop looking for signs outside, they begin to emerge from within. That's not coincidence. That's coherence. So if today feels slower than you'd like, if your plans seem to stretch instead of sprint, know this, it's not a setback. It's sacred timing. The groundwork you lay now in this quieter phase will support the bold, fiery expression that only a Leo can bring when the moment is right. Stay close to the present. Focus on your roots, not your reach. There's wisdom in the waiting, and you are exactly where you need to be. There's a quiet wisdom that settles in when we begin to view our relationships not as puzzles to fix, but as mirrors meant to reflect us back to ourselves. The energy of the Two of Cups, which gently rises in this part of your reading, doesn't just point to romance or surface-level connection, it speaks to deeper resonance, to soul-to-soul recognition, and to the way others can illuminate the very parts of us we've been unwilling or unable to face. When a relationship feels tense, distant, or out of sync, the first impulse for many is to react, to fix, to blame, or to retreat. But here's another approach. Pause, soften, and ask, what is this teaching me about how I love, how I listen, or how I allow myself to be seen? The people in our lives are not here to validate us or fill our gaps. They are here to accompany us, and sometimes challenge us, on our path to greater awareness. Whether it's a romantic partner, a friend, a colleague, or a family member, every interaction becomes an invitation to grow. This perspective shift is subtle but transformative. It takes the pressure off others and brings the focus back to what's happening within. If someone's words trigger defensiveness, what part of you still believes it must defend itself to be safe? If someone's silence stings, what part of you longs to be heard, not by them, but by yourself? These are the quiet doorways into healing. The external tension is just a signal of internal discomfort asking for your attention. Astrologically, this moment supports emotional clarity and compassionate communication. The planetary alignments highlight the importance of equilibrium in your energetic exchanges. It's not about perfect harmony, it's about honest balance. You don't need to agree with everyone you care about. You simply need to be present enough to see what your role in that dynamic reveals. In partnerships, especially romantic ones, this is a season to lean into empathy. Instead of meeting fire with fire or withdrawing into silence, try meeting resistance with curiosity. Ask not, why are they like this, but, where am I being invited to soften, to listen, to speak with more love? That is where strength truly lives, not in control, but in conscious awareness. For those who are single, this is an opportunity to re-examine what you believed love must look like. Are your expectations rooted in past wounds or fear-based narratives? Or are they spacious enough to allow for new kinds of connection, ones that honor not just chemistry, but mutual growth? The call here is not to lower your standards, but to let go of standards that were built from fear instead of wholeness. And in family dynamics, where emotions run deep and patterns run long, now may be the time to speak what has been sitting silently in your heart. Not as a confrontation, but as a release. Words held too long can become walls. But words offered with clarity and compassion can become bridges. At its core, the message of the Two of Cups reminds us that harmony doesn't always come from fixing the other person. It begins when we stop abandoning ourselves in the name of peace. When we tend to our inner world with honesty and care, our outer relationships begin to shift, not because we force them to, but because we no longer demand that they fulfill roles they were never meant to. Like a still pond reflecting the sky, our relationships can only mirror what we bring to them. When your heart is open and steady, the connections you attract and nurture will reflect that same quiet depth. Let each interaction be a chance to see yourself more clearly, and to love what you find. It's easy to believe that strength means holding everything together, clenching your fists, bracing your heart, keeping it all in control. But what if true strength is actually found in the moments when you choose to let go? Not because you've given up, but because you've grown past the need to cling. The presence of the Strength card, alongside death in your reading, marks a sacred turning point, one that doesn't demand struggle, but surrender. This isn't a sign of weakness. It's a signal of evolution. When you think of a lion, you might picture its roar. But there's another version, quieter, more centered. One that walks with poise, observes without urgency, and knows its power isn't proven through aggression, but through stillness. That's the kind of inner strength we're exploring here. It's the kind that doesn't need to control every outcome because it trusts in the wisdom of release. Astrologically, the current energy is guiding Leo away from over-identifying with performance, productivity, and perfection. Instead, it's asking you to shift into presence. There's a natural rhythm in the universe, a pulse that carries all things forward in their own time. Trying to force or rush it only creates friction and fatigue. But when you align with this flow, even the hardest transitions become softer. The Death card, so often misunderstood, is not about endings that bring despair. It's about the natural dissolution of things that have already completed their purpose. An outdated belief. A worn-out identity. A relationship dynamic that no longer serves your growth. In the same way that trees release their leaves without fear each autumn, you are being asked to release something, not because it wasn't meaningful, but because it has served its time. Letting go, however, doesn't mean passivity. It means making an active choice to trust what you cannot yet see. It means giving yourself permission to rest, to pause, to allow space for what's next to find you. Just as a field must lie fallow before a new season of growth, you too must cultivate the courage to be still without calling it stagnation. There's a quiet teaching that says, nothing real can be lost, and nothing temporary can be held forever. When we stop trying to manage the world through worry and start anchoring into what's actually in our hands, our breath, our responses, our choices, we find a different kind of power. One that doesn't waver with the wind of external changes. This is the power that comes when you stop trying to prove yourself and start simply being yourself. Not as a role to perform, but as a presence to inhabit. The Leo energy within you already shines by nature. It doesn't need to be turned up louder. What it needs now is to be made deeper. Take time to listen to your own stillness. To let the salt water of a bath or the softness of a page hold your exhaustion. Write what needs to leave you. Feel where you've been holding on too tightly. And remind yourself, you are not behind. You are not broken. You are not late. You are in transition. A former version of you is dissolving, and that's beautiful. Because what's emerging in its place is something stronger, softer, and more aligned. Not the lion who roars the loudest, but the one who knows when to rest in the shade, trusting that the next moment will call them forth when it's time. In the quiet after letting go, something begins to stir. It's not loud, not forceful, but you can feel it, a flicker of possibility, a pulse of momentum starting to rise from within. After the deep breath, after the pause, comes the spark. This is the energy of the Ace of Wands, and right now, it's reaching for you. Creation doesn't always announce itself with clarity. Sometimes it arrives as a whisper, a sudden image, an idea that won't leave you alone, a sense that you're meant to start something. Maybe it doesn't make full sense yet. Maybe it scares you a little. That's okay. What matters is that it's real. That it came to you. And that's not by accident. The Ace of Wands represents the beginning of inspired action, but its power lies not in what's completed, it lies in what's awakened. It's a symbol of potential energy, of life that's still forming, but full of promise. You may not know exactly where the path leads, but the path is calling, and your only task is to say yes to the next step. Astrologically, this moment is potent for Leos because the Sun, their ruling planet, is shining directly onto the realm of self-expression. This is the season to create from the inside out, to share what's been quietly growing in your heart, even if the shape isn't perfect. Think of a flower that doesn't wait until it's fully bloomed to reach toward the light. It rises slowly, honestly, boldly. What makes this energy even more meaningful is that it follows the clearing work of strength and death. You've released what was weighing you down. You've stepped back from the need to control or predict. That makes this new wave of creativity not just a reaction, but a conscious choice. You're no longer building from fear. You're building from clarity. Sometimes we wait for perfect timing, perfect confidence, perfect plans. But creation doesn't demand perfection, it invites participation. If there's an idea you've been holding on to, write it down. If you already have a vision, choose one small, imperfect action to bring it closer. Begin not because you're sure, but because the very act of beginning will shape the path. In teachings of awareness, there's a truth that creativity is not a luxury, it's a responsibility. To be alive and not express is like having a flame and choosing not to light it. And that expression doesn't have to be grand. It can be subtle, private, messy. What matters is that it's true. That it comes from your center, not from who you think you're supposed to be, but from who you actually are. There is something the world needs to receive that only you can offer. That isn't ego, it's design. Your life force moves uniquely, and to suppress it is to deny not only yourself but the greater harmony of the whole. When one voice holds back, the symphony feels it. When one spark goes out, the warmth changes. Your presence matters. So today, even if you feel unsure, even if your mind says, not yet, listen to that quieter inner voice that says, maybe now. Trust that a small step is enough. Trust that the energy rising inside you is intelligent, ancient, and ready. You don't have to know the ending. Just honor the beginning. Let the fire guide your next move, and let the world feel your light, exactly as it is, unapologetically alive. Money, for many, is one of the most emotionally charged topics, often tangled in past conditioning, silent beliefs, and inherited fears. But right now, you're standing at a threshold where your relationship with wealth is ready to be redefined, not from a place of lack or pressure, but from presence, clarity, and a deeper understanding of your own values. The combination of death, the Emperor, and the Ace of Wands invites a conscious restructuring, not just of your finances, but of how you perceive worth, yours and the world's. It's important to understand that prosperity begins long before it shows up in your bank account. It starts with the quality of your thoughts, the rhythm of your decisions, and the stories you continue to carry about what you do, or do not, deserve. Many of those stories aren't even yours. They were whispered into your awareness when you were too young to question them. Things like, money is hard to earn, you have to hustle to be secure, or, people like us just don't get ahead. These beliefs don't reflect reality, they shape it. And the current energy is asking you to investigate where these ideas took root, and whether they're still worth watering. The Death card in this context brings a kind of liberation. It calls for the release of outdated financial narratives that have silently guided your choices. It's not a loss, it's a clearing. A composting of old mental patterns so that something richer can take root. When you choose to unlearn what no longer serves you, you make space for a more empowered and aligned perspective to emerge. Enter the Emperor, the architect, the planner, the master of structure. This energy supports you in taking grounded action, reviewing your expenses not from guilt, but from curiosity, setting financial boundaries not from fear, but from intention. You don't need to master the stock market or have a 5-year plan. You just need to start where you are. What would it feel like to create a system that supports both your stability and your creative freedom? Can you allow money to be a tool, not a tyrant? Alongside this practicality comes the Ace of Wands, igniting fresh energy and inspired ideas. Maybe there's a project that could become a new stream of income. Maybe your creativity holds more value than you realized. What if your path to abundance isn't paved by doing more, but by doing more of what lights you up? That's the magic formula, passion plus intention, supported by structure. It's not about chasing money. It's about creating from such a clear place that money recognizes your alignment and flows in return. In teachings of presence and awareness, there's a reminder that wealth isn't only measured in numbers, it's also found in the ability to appreciate, to give, and to be at peace with what is while remaining open to more. Gratitude isn't a spiritual cliché, it's a frequency shift. When you acknowledge what's already supporting you, you attract more of it. The flow of abundance is circular, not linear. What you send out, attention, appreciation, action, comes back multiplied. So today, consider journaling on the financial beliefs you inherited. Where did they come from? Which ones are still helping you grow, and which ones are holding you back? Then, write a new story. One where money is a natural companion on your journey, not a destination. Repeat the affirmation, money flows to me as I live in alignment with my purpose. Let that truth reshape your reality from the inside out. And if you keep seeing 888, know this, it's not just a number. It's a sign that you're entering a cycle of receiving. That what you've given, energetically, emotionally, and creatively, is circling back. Stay open. Stay grounded. And trust that wealth, when it flows from authenticity, will always feel like freedom. And now, Leo, if you've stayed with me this far, take a gentle moment to breathe in everything you've just witnessed, not just heard, but felt. This hasn't simply been a reading. It's been a return. A remembering. A reconnection with parts of you that may have been quietly waiting to be seen again. You've been reminded that structure is not limitation, it's liberation. The Emperor has shown you that your power grows when it has roots. That boundaries can be sacred, and discipline can be an act of deep self-love. You've witnessed how your relationships reflect your inner world, through the lens of the Two of Cups. Every connection holds a message. Every moment of tension, affection, or silence reveals something about your own capacity to love and to be loved. The work doesn't start out there. It starts in here. You've stepped through the threshold of surrender with strength and depth, learning that real courage is not always about holding on, it's about knowing when to let go. Letting go of old narratives. Letting go of the weight of expectations. Letting go of the version of yourself you thought you had to be. And then you ignited something sacred with the Ace of Wands. That flicker of new life, that raw, untamed inspiration that wants to create through you, not just for applause, but because you are alive, and that's reason enough. You've even redefined what abundance means. You've seen that money is not just about numbers, it's energy. It's reflection. It's a mirror of how worthy you believe you are to receive. And that worthiness is not something to earn. It's something to remember. So as you step away from this video and return to your day, I want to leave you with this. Miracles don't arrive when conditions are perfect. They arrive when your heart is open. And your heart, Leo, is already opening wider than you realize. Ask yourself now, gently, honestly. What part of today's journey resonated most deeply with you? Which old belief are you finally ready to release? And what small action can you take today to honor the truth you just remembered? If this reading spoke to your spirit, if something inside you felt seen or stirred, let it be known. Let the energy flow. Speech balloon, drop a comment below. Maybe an angel number that's been following you. Maybe a word, a feeling, or a promise you're making to yourself today. And if you felt connected, inspired, or even just comforted, please consider liking this video. That simple act sends a signal, not just to the algorithm, but to the universe, that you're ready to receive more of this kind of support. That you're here. That you're listening. Subscribe to Eternal Mindfulness if you haven't already, and ring the bell so we can meet again, right here, in this shared space of transformation, whenever you need a reminder that you're never walking this path alone. Leo, your light is never lost. It only waits for you to return to it. Until next time, be kind to your heart, brave with your voice, and open with your dreams. The miracle isn't somewhere out there. It begins the moment you choose to believe it's already on its way.